You know it's this. Take a perk and a talk of that shit. Money swallowed like sis. Did it perfect in the kid. Got a billion who sang on my head. Look up better. Put on the road I just spent. I know we got $1 million. The devil that shit ain't not cheaper again.
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to MangaMuse. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the third part of, What If Naruto Makes Female Ninja Army? Special note, this fanfic is written and a masterpiece of Mad Hat 886 on fanfiction.net. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. The engagement party. Lounging about on a great mound of pillows, quietly snacking on some dried dates and sipping some orange juice spiked with some herbal pills to help in his growing as he's shorter than he should be at his age, his day's schooling finished, Naruto rested up for his combat training. Sure, he had only 4 hours of schooling followed by another 2 of observing the council in action. His grandmother and grandfather had started him schooling in developing his mind for when he becomes king he's going to have to be more than just strong in body but in his mind as well. Naruto wants some more. Koklako offered holding a pitcher of orange juice as she sees his cup empty. Sure, Naruto said as held out his cup for her to refill. Around him are his personal maids and his new personal bodyguards, the killer bees, who are fiercely protective of him. They had already taste-tested all of the food and drink that were being served to him. They were a gift from his grandmother as she wants him to be protected at all times, without him the royal family bloodline would end with her. Tomorrow is the engagement party, Kataji said as she's in charge of Naruto's day planner. You shouldn't go into the combat training today. You don't want to get hurt during the training, Neko said as her pink Delmo training kicked in. She's right, you need to look your best for tomorrow. You don't want to dishonor yourself by appearing with a broken arm or something broken on your face, Glycin said as she has been trying to get Naruto to act more as a nobleman would act. Like how her family acts since her grandmother's antics has caused them to fall from the high ideals of the noble bloodline of their family. I think having scars shows character, Kami said as she lightly fingers the scar she received during her training on her left cheek. But she is right that I should look my best for the party, Naruto said. Also there will be some people from the Leaf, Mars said looking over her folder of all the data she managed to find. Tell me who's coming, Naruto asked. The SCRT is besides the 2 girls are 3 girls and 3 boys, the adults number 4. The 3 boys that are coming were kind of like your friends, Shikamaru Nara, who comes from a family of shadow manipulators and deer herders, Kiba Inazuka Konohagakure's Inazuka family known for their ninja dogs, and Chuji Akimichi is a member of the Akimichi clan, one of the 4 noble clans in Konohagakure, Mars said reading off the names of those listed of coming. As for the girls that are comings, as 2 of them were in your class. The first is Sakura Haruno, who you seem to have a crush on. Her main strengths are her intelligence and her hidden chakra control, which just needs to be brought out. The next is Ino Yamanaka, who is Sakura's friend/rival. She is talented in the way of the flowery Ikebana as well as mind-altering jutsu, where she can control a person's body but leaves her own body a sitting duck for any attack. The last is Tenten, a Genin-level ninja who graduated the academy a year ahead of you. Tenten is a student of Might Guy together with 2 guys named Rock Lee and Niji Hyuga. Not much is known about her techniques, other than that they involve the mastery of weaponry. Tenten is an expert in the use of melee and throwing armaments and summons these special melee weapons from scrolls when needed. She also uses what may be chakra strings to control and guide the direction of her weapons. Tenten also has proved herself very capable of throwing many weapons at her opponent and using them for ranged attacks. She is considered one of the best female ninja in the village. I remember them, Naruto said. Tell me about the 2 girls they managed to find to be engaged to me. The first is the daughter of Tucci the owner, the Ichiraku ramen bar, the one you used to always eat at. I am Ichiraku, who you know well. Then there's Hinata Hyuga, the eldest daughter and heiress to the Hyuga clan known for the Byakugan bloodline. She has a crush on you for a long time now, but she's very shy, Mars read off the report she has on the two girls. "Ayame and Hinata," Naruto said. "Well, those two are the only ones that were nice to me while I lived there. When I start the war with the leaf I have to remember to spare those two lives." "I'll make a note of that," Mars said as she continues on her report. The four adults that are coming with them are Tsunade, the granddaughter of the first Hokage, grandniece of the second Hokage, and the kunoichi of the three legendary three ninja, Densetsu no Sannin. Even though she is around in her 50s, her transformation technique, it must be noted that Tsunade's henge is somewhat different from the normal henge, as it does not get dispelled when she is slashed or injured, and she apparently does not have to use any effort to keep it up. It is a permanent henge that only gets partially dispelled when she uses her Sozo Seze, as the seal on her forehead is where she stores the chakra for her henge, making it appear as if she were still in her 20s. She has a gambling problem where she loses a lot of money, and the only time she wins is when something bad is going to happen. One of her noteworthy possessions is her grandfather's amulet, a necklace that could buy up to 3 mountains. She also has a pet pig named Tauntaun. "How interesting," Naruto said as he waves for her to continue. Shizune, a talented medic Nin, is the apprentice of Tsunade and left Konoha with her after her uncle Dan died. Shizune is quite close to Tsunade, one of the few people Tsunade will trust with absolute certainty, and a fairly talented and capable ninja in her own right. Unlike Tsunade, she is level-headed, practical, and a rational thinker. As a result, she is the one who tends to stress over details, like Tsunade's tendency to gamble and think with her heart. Shizune also looks after Tauntaun, Tsunade's pet pig. The third member is Kurenai Yuhia Jonin. Relatively little is known about her, other than the fact that she only became a Jonin recently. She also been chosen to be Hinata Hyuga's teacher and was appointed by Hinata's father. The last member is Asuma Sarutobi, another Jonin. Not much is known about Asuma, only that he seems very laid back and is always smoking a cigarette whenever he is seen. Interesting choices, but then again they didn't have much of a choice in choosing who was going to come, since there are so few people in the leaf that had shown me any kindness, Naruto said. "What do you want us to do about them?" Kami asked. "Leave that to me," Naruto said, thinking of the fun he's going to have with his former villagers. At the Land of Snow Airport. Well, look at that, they have the nerve of showing their faces," a sound ninja said as she points at the group of leaf ninjas. The sound ninja who is pointing is named Tayuya. She is the only kunoichi of Orochimaru's Sound 4 unit. She is foul-mouthed and ill-tempered, but very powerful. Her main weapon is her flute. With it, she can summon 3 powerful demons and control them to fight for her. Tayuya is very intelligent and can think of excellent strategies and battle tactics. She can also perform genjutsu with her flute. Her preference for sound-based, long-range combat with her flute makes her vulnerable at close-range combat. When in level 2 cursed seal form, her hair grows longer, her skin turns dark brown, and she grows several horns on her head. And it looks like they managed to dig up some girls to be engages to the boy they treated like trash, Kin said, giving the leaf ninjas a smirk. "I wonder if the prince isn't just going to tear their faces off when he sees them. And looks like the pickings were very slim, bottom of the barrel," Zuka said. "No, it looks like it's the barrel they found," Dosu laughs. "Too bad Hana's team didn't make the cut, they would have loved to see this." "Why don't you come over here and say that in my face?" Sakura shouted at the 2 kunoichis. "You wouldn't like it if we did," the sound Nins laugh at the pink-haired girl with the large forehead. "Sakura, no, you can't start a fight here," Tsunade said to her as she held her back by placing her hand on the younger girl's shoulder. "Yeah, you'll lose," a man named Jirobo said. He's the physically strongest member of the Sound 4 and the weakest overall, according to the other members of the Sound 4. His fighting style consists mostly of basic physical strikes supplemented with the ability to use his chakra to hold the earth solid. His physical strength is unbelievable, as he can tear boulder-sized chunks of dirt out of the ground to throw, creates barriers by tearing up massive sheets of rock, and can drain chakra with his chakra absorption technique. He dislikes it when Tayuya uses foul language or when she calls him fat, and he always criticizes her when she does. When in level 2 cursed seal form, his skin becomes red, his mohawk becomes a mane down his back, his eyes turn black, and he gains 10 times his normal strength. Yeah, looks like the leaf has fallen in power lately. A man named Kadamura smirks at them. He's the spider-like member of the Sound 4, he possesses 4 extra arms for a total of 8 limbs, and has the ability to make webs. He enjoys playing with his enemies before he kills them. If his spider-like abilities aren't enough to beat his enemies, he is an excellent tactical analyzer, capable of figuring out his enemies' weak points quickly and efficiently. Kadamura uses his webs to protect the Sound 4 and Orochimaru. The webs can be used both defensively and offensively. He makes his webs through a special type of liquid that is created by infusing body liquid with chakra. He can also harden this substance at will, into a golden metallic solid. He can also make the golden metallic solid from his sweat glands. This hardened material can be fabricated into body armor, kunai, or his especially deadly bow and arrow. His abilities are not Kekkai Genkai, but clan-related. The name of his clan is unknown. When in level 2 cursed seal form, he becomes even more spider-like. His skin becomes darker, and he grows long, white hair. He also gains the ability to control the path of his arrows with chakra. Out of all the members of the Sound 4, Kadamura is the only one who wears a visible Sound 4 head protector, as it covers his third eye, which is used in level 2 cursed seal form to improve his accuracy. So much for your village of being the strongest of the hidden villages, a young man named Sakan laughs. He is very twisted and enjoys badmouthing the opposition. He possesses amazing power and speed, but these are not the only things he has at his disposal. From behind, one can see what appears to be another head hanging from his back. This is his older brother, Yukon. Due to their unique Kekkai Genkai, Yukon is able to merge his body with Sakan's. Yukon generally stays asleep in Sakan's body unless needed in combat, effectively doubling the strength of Sakan's physical attacks. Each brother can independently activate a cursed seal. In his level 2 cursed seal form, he takes on the appearance of an ogre, with the exception of only having one horn on his left side. This gives him increased healing abilities and armor. Yukon his brother generally stays within Sakan's body unless he's needed in combat. It is suggested that he cannot remain outside of Sakan for very long, since he cites the need to rest after a short battle apart from his brother. He seems to be more impatient than his brother, as seen when he tells Sakan to finish Kiba quickly and activate his level 2 cursed seal when Sakan wanted to play around more. When he comes out, he effectively doubles the strength of Sakan's physical attacks. Similarly to how he lives inside Sakan's body, Yukon can use his Kekkai Genkai ability to enter and slowly destroy an opponent's body. Each brother can independently activate a cursed seal. In his level 2 cursed seal form, he takes on the appearance of an ogre, with the exception of only having one horn on his right side. This gives him increased healing abilities and armor, and also allows him to remain apart from Sakan for a longer period of time. Well, you can expect a lot from a village that gangs up on a small boy, said Kimimaro Kagaya, who is the 5th member of the Sound 4, thus temporarily changing their group name to the Sound 5. The original 4 were forced to accept him, despite their protests, as Kimimaro's combat abilities exceeded all of their abilities combined. He was the sole survivor of the Kagaya clan who could manipulate their body's skeletal frame. The Kagaya clan was wiped out when they attacked the Hidden Mist village and were slaughtered. Kimimaro was the most powerful member of this clan, so he was locked away in a cage for most of his life, only released occasionally when needed to fight other clans. He retreated from the fight with the Hidden Mist village, which is why he is the only survivor. Kimimaro is well suited for close combat fighting, and can hold his own at a distance. Since he can regenerate and make new bones, he has an endless supply of bones he can use against his opponent. Kimimaro's only weakness is the sickness that he constantly suffers from, possibly tuberculosis, because of his bloody coughing. The sickness seems to have been recently developed, as he was once a prime candidate for Orochimaru's next host. He has a strong devotion towards Orochimaru, as Orochimaru was the only person to care for and inspire him. When in his level 2 cursed seal form, his appearance is similar to that of a dinosaur, with dark gray skin and a long bony tail, while remaining bipedal. While belonging to a clan that loves killing, murder, and slaughtering, as well as being the most powerful of this clan, Kimimaro is not truly violent because he never really knew the outside world. Thus, he does not know why he really fights until he meets Orochimaru. He always wondered what really was accomplished through the fighting he knew. It may be the reason why he retreated from the final battle of his war-loving clan and the hidden mist village. Hey, don't put me in the same category as the rest of them. I am shouted, but when she saw Hinata biting her lips. Or Hinata here, as were the only two girls in the entire village that treated Naruto like a person. The rest of the Leaf group were all taken aback at what she had said about them but couldn't defend themselves because everything she had just said was true. Well, that may be true, but your chances of getting anywhere close to him are zero. Kin smiles. Yeah, I mean, treating someone like trash without them knowing why won't put you on their good side, you know, a newcomer said. Turning, they saw a group of ninjas from the headbands there from the hidden sand village. The one that spoke is a blonde girl with a strange hairstyle. A group of spectators had gathered around the scene. Why bother in showing your faces at all? A man with a cloth that covers half of his face asked. You should all go back to your village now, a boy said, carrying a puppet on his back said. He just might use all of you for target practices. Naruto isn't that BLD trusty. I am snaps, but looks at the people are her in her group. Well, not against me or Hinata, that is. Hey, the younger members of the Leaf group yelled at her. Well, think about it. Who has a better chance of living through this? Me and Hinata or you guys? I am asked them. They were interrupted by the most horrifying sound they had ever heard. Whoa, ho, ho, ho. The few remaining spectators fled the scene at high speed at the sound of that high, haunting, cackling that made one flash back to the scariest, most soul-destroying nightmares of your life. Then, bouncing into view came the source of that most terrible of all sounds, and bouncing was a most apt description. Clad in an incredibly revealing leather thong bikini came a tall, immensely voluptuous, pale-skinned woman. Nestled in between her full, round tips was a skull necklace that quivered with each of her steps. Shaking her wavy, black hair out of her eyes and simultaneously shaking her dark purple cloak to more fully expose her bountiful figure, she strutted into a position directly in front of the Leaf ninjas. Not taking her eyes off of Tsunade, who caught her eye, she suddenly spoke, Temari. Just who is this fool who thinks she can match Naga the White Serpent? Her figure has its points, and someone of her age using a jutsu to remain how she has looked when she was in her prime, but of course it doesn't come near the perfection of my own. Whoa, ho, ho, ho. Everyone cringed at this, but Tsunade stood strong even in the teeth of it. Naga the White Serpent, the jutsu mstrs of the sand, Tsunade said, informing the ones who didn't know who the woman is as she glares at the younger woman. I heard a lot about you. Yes, and I of you as well, like your real age is 52 and the only thing keeping you looking that young is the jutsu you used on yourself. Naga smiled smugly as the older woman glared at her. Are you trying to get Naruto to fall for you? I never thought of you as a cradle robber, Tsunade said back to her, giving her a smirk. Naga glared at the older woman. No. Of course not, my younger sister is going to be the one who's going to be engaged to him. Stepping out from behind her older sister, a young girl showed herself to them. She's a bit shorter even than Temari is, but definitely had a more curvaceous body that showed she's on her way of being a knockout like her older sister. She wore an annoyingly cute white traveling outfit complete with cape and pink trim. Little ornaments with star designs completed the look. Beneath her short-cut black hair, her blue eyes seemed almost as crazily determined as her older sister. How dare you show yourself after what you have done to him, the young girl shouted. For love and justice I will punish you. The Leaf and the people who had struck around to watch sweat dropped. Amelia, please don't do that, her older sister said as she wished she wouldn't go around spouting about justice whenever she gets a chance to. Fired with a burning love of peace and justice, I'll scour the land of evil. Let all who fear the light of the law flee before me like cockroaches, but I will crush them with the iron boot of right despite their flight. Amelia's blue eyes seemed to glow with the fire of her dedication as she spoke, arms and fingers moving and pointing at the correct times for the biggest emotional impact. Tsunade, how powerful is she? Shizun asked her teacher. Her sister is powerful enough to give me a hard fight, let alone me beating her without suffering from heavy injuries. If Amelia is anything like Naga, she'll be able to kick the kids' butts around easily, Tsunade whispers to her. As much as I like to see some leaf butts being kicked, you can't go and start a fight here, a woman said as she steps in front of the group. She's dressed in a form-fitting white bodysuit that clung to every curve of her body. The white suit had a zipper running up the front that was currently pulled about halfway up, leaving the suit jutting wide open at her melons, her impressive E-cup melons thrusting out of the open material, pushed up by a lacy white brassiere. Most of the guys couldn't help but stare at her exposed melons, making the women glare at them and jab them to stop looking, with some girlfriends and wives who reminded their men with large blunt objects. Two other women stood next to the woman who spoke out. The one on her left side is much shorter than the other woman, as she looks a lot younger because of her height. She was a appealing doll, less than 5 feet tall, with large melons, a slim waist, gorgeous peach, all in proportion to her tiny size. Her almond-shaped eyes were big, and so dark as to be almost black. Her doll-like face was framed by straight hair, black, but with a reddish cast, parted in the middle, reaching to the middle of her round peaches. She has a long black cloak wrapped around her body. And the one on the right is a redhead with short hair. She is sleek, muscled, powerful-looking and stands over 8 feet tall. Most men would have to look up to meet her eyes. That is, if they can move past her melons, that is. Her legs were of a special interest. They were the firm and taut legs of a fitness model or female track star. And she has the biggest burst which any of the ninjas, even with someone like Tsunade around, had ever seen, with the woman's H-cup size melon seemingly ready to burst out of her top of her short gold color dress she wore. Who are you two? Zuka asks as he stares at her melons. My name is Captain Kim Possible and I'm the captain of the airship you guys are taking. Any of you fight and you'll be walking, Kim said as she smirks at the group of Eastern ninjas. Now stop this and get your things, my ship is taking off in 5 minutes, if you're late I'm leaving you behind. With that she left for her ship, leaving the shorter woman facing the group of ninjas. As for me, I'm Jiraiya Anata and my tall friend next to me is Maya Yujina. We're two of the gold Delmos who attacked the Leaf Village as she was saving our prince from them. We'll be acting as examiners for this trip. We'll be watching you all for anything, so make sure you all be on your best behavior or we'll have to make sure your group will be going back home, she said as she grins at the Leaf Ninjas adults who remember the damage she done to their village. She kept that grin on her face as she turns and walks off for the airship. Yeah, make sure you don't cause trouble on this trip or you'll be thrown out of the ship. If you do, Maya chuckles as she turns and follows her small friend. Luckily for you we don't have time for you punishment today, Amelia said as she grabs her bags as run after the captain. The rest of the sand ninjas followed. While this is your only chance of turning back now, Kin said to the Leaf Ninjas, giving them a smirk as she grabs her bags. You should go back and prepare for the war with Metal, Kimimaro said to them as his group started walking after their captain. You don't have a chance of getting Prince Naruto to back down in a war that he wants with your village. Since your village went through all of the trouble of making sure he would hate your village with every fiber of his being. Asuma took a deep puff of his cigarette as he turns to the team leader. What do you want to do? We can't turn back and give up without trying, Tsunade as she grabs her things and started walking. The others looked at each other and soon followed. They're the only hope left for their village now. In Metal. In a room in the royal palace that was until a few weeks ago was empty, a young man slept on the bed. He could hear the soft breathing of the girls, one on either side. As his eyes grew accustomed to the darkness, he saw it wasn't totally dark, just the normal darkness of a bedroom at night. Lifting his head, he could see from the lighted clock on the table that the time was nearly midnight. As he put his head down again, Verryyyy, curled up with her back to him, moved slightly as she slept. On his other side, Xiaoyu sighed softly, her arm moving across his chest as she cuddled against his back. He fell back asleep with the two girls on either side of him. In his room the killer bees slept as older Delmo palace guards stood watch outside his door. If anything enters the room it wouldn't be able to enter without waking up one of the killer bees who are all trained to be able to sense stealth jutsus, and that beside the two bees currently sleeping with their prince formed a circle around his bed as they slept on the floor on mats. Santamo's pet monkey was also in the room and would start shouting if anything would enter the room undetected by the humans inside the room. The killer bees took turns in sleeping in bed with him as they knew they had to go slowly as Naruto their prince still isn't used to people being kind to him. Waking up again he turned to look at the clock and saw that it was about time to get up. Pulling himself free from the two girls sleeping with him, Naruto headed for the bathroom careful not to wake any of the girls sleeping on the floor. The first thing he did was check himself out in the full-length mirror as he washes his face. He was a little taller now, more muscular, not so much that it would stand out, but his shoulders and chest were broader and his arms and legs more muscular. He had gotten taller as the transformation had some side effects as in making him the height he's supposed to be at his age along with other things. Briefly, he touched his chest, his shoulders, his biceps, feeling how hard his muscles are now. Before he got the reward from the fox, he was in pretty good shape from his ninja training, but now his body was like steel. His hair was still blonde, but with a little wave to it now. Staring at his face in the mirror, he could see that while he was bigger and handsomer as most of the women keep on telling him, he was still recognizable as Naruto Delmo, but with a more confident manner, a firmer jaw, a commanding look in his eyes. And the biggest change of all is that his ears have been replaced by a pair of fox ears on his head, and his nails are more like claws than they were before. As he has become a half-demon now with the side effects of the unsealing of the fox demon inside of him and sending it back to the demon world, transforming him into a half-demon. He's now stronger and more powerful than he was before when he was still fully human. And yet he still feels so empty inside whenever he has time to sit by himself and think about where his life is going. Morning Mstr, Cammy said as she walks up behind him wrapping her arms around him. Morning Cammy, Naruto said as he stares at her reflection in the mirror, she's giving him a soft smile as she hugs herself to her back. You know we're supposed to be with you no matter where you go, Cammy said. We are trained to protect you at all times, you're too important to us. Yes I know. I'm the only heir for the throne of metal and without me this land would erupt into a civil war over the crown, Naruto said bitterly earning him a gasp from Cammy. Don't say that. We don't see you like that, Cammy cried out waking the other killer bees up from their slumber as Cammy left the bathroom door wide open. Forget it. I already know what you think of me and see me as. I'm just someone to make sure that this land isn't destroyed in the civil war that would happen if I wasn't here, Naruto said as he waves Cammy to leave him alone for now. Cammy stepped backwards as she stares at her prince with wide eyes. She closed the door behind her as she couldn't believe what she just heard from him. Is that what he thinks we all see him? She couldn't help but wonder. He still can't see that we don't see him as an object but as a person, FEVERYYYY said as she sat up on the bed. We have to go slowly in giving out his trust to us, Santama stated as she could see that Naruto trust has been destroyed by the people of the Leaf too many times for him to give out his trust to anyone freely anymore, even the ones that are standing by him now. Once those people from the Leaf get here let's make sure we give them a warm welcome, Jinyu said to her friends. They all nodded in agreement as they're going to show Naruto that he can trust them with his life or die trying. Inside her private office Queen Carline sat behind her desk looking over reports and signing paperwork that had been building up as Cammy gave her report on her grandson. She frowns as she hears what Naruto thinks that the only reason why everyone is treating him as a person is because of him being the sole heir to the throne. The scars of his time in the Leaf are deeper than she had thought as he couldn't see any kindness without asking why. I see my grandson still thinks that the only reason people are nice to him is when they need him for something out of him, Carline said letting out a puff of air. I see that we're going to have a very long uphill battle to get my grandson to see that I don't just want him because he's the only thing stopping a civil war to break out once I'm gone. My queen, I was wondering about something, Cammy spoke up. Who's going to be fighting over the throne that would cause a civil war? The Barigo and the Rokake factions, Carline answers making Cammy's eyes widen when she heard those names. Those two families have been the two most powerful factions in this country even before my great-grandmother married the prince of the land. Despite metal being ruled by a monarchy, the Senate and its nobles grew quite powerful over the years. Before the Delmo bloodline became a common in the families of metal, the ones who married the future heir of the throne were either from the Barigo faction or the Rokake faction. But ever since my great-grandmother made it a law that only her daughter would be able to choose who she marries, none from the Barigo or the Rokake families have ever married into the royal family. And over the years they're one of the few noble houses who still have male children, since they always marry women from outside the country ever since more and more of the Delmo bloodline spread throughout metal. Before I found out about Naruto, I learned that both the Barigo and Rokake clan have been stockpiling weapons and gaining supporters from the smaller houses. Since my daughter Kiko was missing and many thought she would not return, both of the families were planning on taking the throne once I was gone. My queen, do you have any proof of this? Kami asked. No, not enough to prove of any wrongdoing, just that they're gathering up as much raw gold as they can. And groups of mercenaries have been seen near the two factions' houses. Mercenaries prefer to be paid with raw gold than minted coins. All I can prove is that they have been planning to claim the throne for themselves once I was gone, but since neither side were going to make any move until I am gone from this world, they have all the right to make their own claims to the throne, as they only had to wait a couple of more years for time to do its job, Caroline explained to her. The Baragos and the Rokakes clans both believe that the only way to have a successful country is to have unrivaled military strength, rigid order, and centralized government. For either to have one of their clan on the throne would spell disasters for metal. Not since my mother's time of her reign that the people of metal would be ruled under an iron fist. My queen, what do you want me to do? Kami asked her queen. I want you and the rest of the killer bees to get close to Naruto and let him see that he does have people who care for him. The Barigo and the Rokake girls will do whatever it takes to get close to Naruto, even making him believe that everyone besides them wants him as a tool. With his mind set now, it makes him very easy to trick. I don't want him to marry into a loveless marriage, Caroline said. I understand, Kami said as she bows to her. Also, you and the others will have to be on guard, as Farah, the princess of the land of gems, is going to be engaged to Naruto as well. The Wei Queendom is making their move again, Kami said as she has read the history books about the war with gems and metal that took place just 66 years ago. Yes, the current Queen Tabitha wants to expand her queendom, and with her daughter around the same age as Naruto, she has the perfect opportunity to do it. If her daughter manages to suck Naruto into falling for her, our two queendoms will join to become one. And in the shadows Tabitha and her daughter will be pulling all of the strings, Caroline said. You and the others will have to be watchful of Farah and the other girl from Gems when they get here. The people from the land of Gems are well known for their trickery. I'll keep that in mind, Kami said as she waited for her queen to dismiss her. Caroline nodded, dismissing her, and she left the room to inform the others about the news. Setsuna, you can come out now, Caroline said as the woman appeared in front of her. Yes, my queen, she asked. I'm going to be calling a meeting with all of the heads of the White Delmos and the generals that are in the city. I want you to be there as well. The meeting will start in 2 hours in the East Wing meeting hall. As you will, our queen, she said as she left the room. High above the land of gems, Farah stood next to a window as she watches it take off on its course to the land of metal. An older woman stood next to her guardian while she stayed in metal. She stood about 5'5" and looked to be about 120 pounds. Her flame-red hair was shoulder-length. She had high cheekbones, soft full red lips, and her eyes a bright gleaming green. They highlighted her deeply tanned skin. Her outfit could not hide her full, firm BRST and lean muscular legs under the skirt she wore. She walked with the confidence of a pro, and most of the men in her immediate area would turn to stare at her. Monka, are the rest of the girls ready? Farah asked her guardian. Yes, they are, Monka said as she points to the assembled group of women in the room with them. The leader of the group is Tarifa, and she was among the tallest of her clan. She came from at 5'8". Her flowing, shiny black hair fell almost to the top of her peaches, framing an absolutely perfect face with high cheekbones and soft pouty full lips. Her face was oval in shape, and her flawless skin was evenly tanned from years of living in the sun, and it gave her a distinctly exotic look. She and her team of 4 were the best team chosen by their queen to protect her daughter while she's in metal. Her teammates all have a similar build as their leader Tarifa and had the same hairstyle as well. Her team is made up of Sajari, a woman with purple hair who's always smiling, Sharmista, a green-haired woman who has eyes sharp as a hawk's, Berta, a blonde who bloodlust scares even her teammates, and Chisato, a woman with brown hair who can mimic any voice she hears. Their skills in combat are in the same level as those of the gold Delmos. Each of them wore tight, coal-black jumpsuit-like uniforms that allowed them to blend seamlessly into the night. The jumpsuits were of a design that added flexible body armor to their uniforms in critical areas, but did not hinder physical movement in the least. The uniforms fastened around their slim necks but split open in a V shape, and as you looked further down their enticing torsos, the tanned skin of their melons and abdomens was exposed for all to see as the uniform strained against their high full melons. The V ended just below their navels, and became normal again. The fabric that encased their legs was also very much skin-tight, almost as if painted on, and all of them wore elaborate combat boots that extended up almost to their knees. The uniforms had no sleeves, and their tanned arms were exposed to the elements, but all of them wore fingerless black gloves and armored gauntlets that covered their skin, the gauntlets ending just below the elbows with wicked-looking edges to them that could slice flesh as easily as butter. They're all skilled in different types of weapons that they all know how to use. Tarifa is armed with wrist blades that strap on both of her arms. They're jutsu-forged twin blades of extended length and exceptional resilience. The wounds left by these blades are exceptionally deadly. Sharmista uses a throwing disc that's ring-shaped, with her sharp eyes make her aim very deadly. The razor disc has blades which vibrate at subsonic frequencies, giving it unmatched cutting power. Sajari uses a bladed tonfu that is called a maul in gems. Jutsu forged for unbreakable strength, barbed and honed to a razor edge, the maul is the most vicious melee weapon in her arsenal. Chisato uses a telescopic quarterstaff, is supremely tough and has extendable blades which combine to deliver devastating attacks. Few people can get close to her once she starts swinging her quarterstaff around. Erda is a MSTR of a twin-headed polearm she calls the glaive. The glaive's rapid spinning moves slice through enemies with ease. The massive jutsu forges blades of gem. The glaive has been specialized barbed to inflict terrible tearing injuries. Princess Farah, I hope that they meet your expectation, Tarifa said to her. Yes, you and your unit does, Farah answers. Tell me, where is Zara? I haven't seen her since we got on board. She's been in her cabin with that book of hers, Monka answers. She still thinks she'll be able to use those magic spells in that book. Farah asked. As long as she has known Zara, she always walks around with that large leather bound book of hers. It's always in front of her face, and come to think about it, she never seen her face. The only part she has seen clearly is her left eye peeking from the top of the book as one of her bangs of long blonde hair covers her right eye all the time. She still doesn't get how she can move around without tripping or bumping into something with that book in her face all the time. I still don't understand why the queen chose her out of the other girls to be engaged to Prince Naruto. Erda asked out loud. Because she's is the most powerful chakra users our academy has come out yet, Farah said. And that her family is one of the most powerful supporters of my mother's faction helps in getting her into the engagement. She's strange, but her power in chakra isn't something to take lightly, even for someone like me with the Delmo blooding flowing their veins. Once we arrive to Iron Mount, what will be the plan with Prince Naruto? Sajari asked. Me and Zara are going to have to enroll into the Metals Academy after the engagement party. It seems that Queen Carline wants the wife of her grandson to be strong in both body and in the mind, since she doesn't want someone to become her daughter-in-law who doesn't know a thing about governing a queendom, or should I say kingdom, now that there's a male on the throne. Anyways, I want all of you to keep me informed of what's going on in the capital and about my rivals for the heart of Prince Naruto, Farah explains in the same cold manner of her mother. And if you don't win? Sharmista asked. I leave that for later, Farah smiled cruelly that made even Erda shiver. In a compound in one of the countries west of Metal. A woman dressed in a dark business suit stood next to a man dressed in a black suit overlooking a training room. The floor of the training room was alive with actively as 5 men are showing their skills off to the man watching above them. The woman held a folder reading the files in it to the man of each of the men down below them. A man dressed in a gray-green suit cut his way through a wooden target with ease with his blade he's carrying. The blade sparks as the blade electrified as it struck its target. Agent Alpha, he's one of Wisdom's general-purpose agents. He usually works within a group, but his individual fighting skills far surpass most of the Eastern Jonin ninjas. Armed with a hatchet-like weapon that channels electricity with it hits something solid made from a special alloy, he specializes in close-contact battles. Dressed in the same style suit as Alpha but he's much taller than he is, he's also armed with a much longer blade also. He easily cuts clean through a stone block with his blade. Agent Beta, armed with a long-range metal shear weapon made from a special alloy, his overall battle ability surpasses Agent Alpha's. With his longer limbs he can stay out of the strike range of his opponents while he strikes. A large man with tan skin wearing metal gloves punch a hole into the reinforced stone wall in the middle of the room. Agent Gamma, he is equipped with a pair of gloves made from a special alloy which protects his hands from almost any kind of damage, while remaining flexible enough for his hands to move, and he has enormous stamina. He takes advantage of his large frame and strong arms and hands to clamp enemies. Not just anyone can escape from his grasp once he has a hold on them. A man armed with a small rapid-fire crossbow fired 5 bolts at 5 targets 100 meters away from him, hitting all of them in the center without effort. Agent Delta, armed with a small rapid-fire crossbow built for accuracy, his skills shine in long-range attacks. Since his battle abilities are not refined as those of the other agents are, he specializes in providing support fire. The last man is dressed in the same suit as the other 4 but his jacket is wide open and undershirt untucked. He's armed with 2 blades and showed he knows how to handle them as he somersaults through the air cutting the hanging targets into ribbons in his wake. Daredevil, he serves as the unofficial leader during combat in operations areas. His battle abilities are far superior to those of regular agents, and he fights with his metal shear weapon also made from a special alloy in both hands. He follows no discernible pattern during a battle. Using his speed and agility he specializes in attacking while confusing the enemy with his fast movement. All of them are the production of the training that's been done here in Wisdom. They all have been taking various kinds of DRGs and compounds to increase their effectiveness in battle. They don't bleed as much when they're wounded and they don't feel pain because their bodies are already half dead, the woman said to the person hidden by shadows. They'll be able to handle the mission you want to be done. Good, I'm paying you good money for these men and I want to be sure that my money wasn't wasted, the man said to the woman. If they fail I might have to go to the Akatsuki to get this done. The woman let out a chuckle. The Akatsuki might be the strongest of the East of Metal but they're the only strongest of the East. Here in the West we of Wisdom are the most feared group here. Just remember that I want this job handled like I ask. I have an unmarked airship ready for transport, the man said as he left the woman's side and made his way out of the room. The woman looks down at the agents who have finished displaying their skills to their newest client. Alright, all of you get all you gear ready to go. In 3 hours all of you will be going to be on your way to Iron Mount. In Iron Mount. Setsuna walked into the east wing of the castle, walking by the castle guards as she enters the hallway into the meeting hall. Passing through the doors she enters the meeting hall. The meeting hall has a schoolroom design as the tables are on 7 levels. On a slanted room at the front of the tables is a table like that of a teacher so they can speak to all of their students while maintaining eye contact with everyone there. The room is already filled with white Delmos and the general station in the city. Looks like I'm not the only one late, Setsuna said to herself as she saw 2 people coming through the door she just came from. Lulu and Stephanie made their way to their seats. Lulu was loaded down with food, a large jug of wine, 3 meat buns and a handful of chocolate bars, the big ones with the nuts in them that she loved. Lulu was a large good-looking dark-skinned woman. The operative word was large. Lulu had been a field soldier at one time before giving up the profession, taking the promotion to the rank of general, and she was a very solid woman, though no one in their right mind would call her fat if they wanted to keep all their teeth. Lulu still dressed like her field soldier days, wearing the same uniform as the common foot soldiers but with costume-made armor to fit her body frame. The uniform is a pair of gray long-sleeve shirt and pants underneath a heavy chest plate. Her large BRST stood out wonderfully in contrast as they bulged over the top of her chest plate and threatened to spill into view with each jiggling step on her 6-inch black heels. Stephanie was almost dwarfed by her companion. She was a brown-haired, dusty-skinned woman who wearing the same kind of uniform as her large friend. Stephanie fought a never-ending war with her desires for junk food and her preference for tight-fitting outfits. Stephanie considered herself more in control than Lulu since she had only one meat bun with her. The box of chocolate ball in her pocket didn't count in her opinion. Lulu, Stephanie, how many times do I have to tell you two that you can't eat in the meeting hall, Setsuna said as she grabs the 2 peanut bags from them. Besides, the ants will be attracted by all of the crumbs you two will make. Hey, give that back, Lulu said as she makes a grab for her buns. No, just wait till after the meeting is over, Setsuna said as she sat down with the buns in front of her. She's right, you know, Sunyu said as she waves her 2 fellow generals over to where she and Jiao-chan are sitting at. You two are always eating whenever we see you two, Jiao-chan said. Well, unlike you, we learn on the field that you have to eat as much as you can. You don't know when you're going to have a good meal, Stephanie said. Too bad no one ever told you two that only applies for the battlefield, not elsewhere, Deanna Spencer of the noble Spencer clan spoke up, causing the two to glare at her. She is dressed in a green tailcoat and knickerbockers. She's also wearing white stockings and brown shoes with gold buckles. She had long, bright red hair underneath a green bowler decorated with a shamrock. She had designed her own clothes as she doesn't like the style of clothes that other designers came up with. Her fiery red hair was in great contrast to her fair white skin. Her cute nose was covered with tiny brown freckles. She has full, ruby lips, striking emerald eyes, large, round melons and long, slender legs. Deanna Spencer, the fortune general, Setsuna greeted the younger woman. I haven't seen you since you went off to the border skirmish with the Frass Confederation a month ago. I did, and thanks to my special talents I didn't lose a single soldier from my unit of 800, Deanna smirks. One of these days that luck of yours is going to run out, Lulu growls, but just makes Deanna smile. Everyone to your seats, the queen is on her way, one of the white Delmos said. Everyone quickly got to their seats as they waited for their queen to come in. As she waited, Setsuna looked around the room to see who she knew were in the room. She spotted Talima, head of Section A of the White Delmos. She's a delicious little thing, her elfin face framed by flaxen hair which tumbled down her slender back to her pert, fluffy peaches. Her melons were far too large for her petite frame, a delectable disparity which Setsuna knew would drive the denizens of the city wild with longing. As she has many girlfriends who got to know her really well, far as she knows that Talima hasn't been with any guy yet, saying she's saving herself for her husband. Sitting next to her is her friend Tony, who works with Talima in Section A. She's extremely appealing, with a heart-shaped face framed by long-length black hair, full lips, and green eyes, made even more exotic by her mother's ancestry. Tony's 5 feet 5 inches body was lean and fit from long hours of sword training by her mother, a former sword dueling champion and sensei. Her body is very slim with an ample figure that she always binds up under warps, saying it's easier for her to swing her sword without her melons jumping around. Behind the pair is Octavia, the head of the soldiers of the city, who is the tallest and biggest person in the room. She stands over 10 feet tall, she's wearing a black blouse and a tattered red skirt as she can't really find clothes that can fit her frame. She has a lovely face with bright red hair, which hung down below her shoulders. Setsuna, when she first met her, was startled by her bright red eyes. Her body was statuesque, shapely, and her skin was coal-black. Setsuna guessed that, if she were human, her measurements would be about 46-26-38. Setsuna shook her head and rethought it to 92-52-76. Somebody cleared their throat, getting everyone's attention. Turning to the source, Setsuna saw that it's Mrs. One, the head of the White Delmos. She is short, not quite 5 foot tall, with long, silken black hair, a narrow waist above flaring peach, and a pair of shapely BRST that would have still looked bountiful on a woman a foot taller. Her legs were firm, a bit broad in the thigh area as many short women tend, but her feet were small and appealing. She wore a perfectly white breathe suit that showed off her perfectly formed peach globes perfectly, with just the right shadow hint of the deep, mysterious peach crack that she sported between them. Setsuna knows her body well since she has more than once slept in the same bed as her. "Everyone please quit down," Mrs. Wan said, and waited for everyone to quiet down. "All right, they're ready for you, my queen." "Thank you," Carline said as she took the seat in front of the assembly. "This meeting will begin now. I want everyone's reports on the status of the security on the engagement party. I don't want anyone that isn't on the guest list or any guards there that aren't a part of the Delmo or is married to one. As for the staff members who are going to be serving the party, must all have a record of working in the castle for a number of years. I don't want any new faces showing up at the party. There must be no security leaks on our end. I already had everything, and everyone attending on our end have their backgrounds checked over and making sure that all of the people are on staff for the engagement party and none will have to change plans. All those who might have something that would keep them from attending have already been replaced, and replacements from them are already in place," Sunyu reported. "I had the guards look around the city looking for anything that seems off or anyone that seemed to be hiding something. We already arrested a couple of people who has ties to underworld organizations who had arrived into the city," Octavia added. "I had my section investigate all of the people attending. None of them are likely to try anything at the party since they know what that will do for their village's name if they do. We haven't managed to find any of them with anything ties to any kind of organization that would cause any trouble," Talima reported. "What we really need to do is keep an eye on the people coming from the eastern lands. Most of them don't know what it's like in the western lands, since eastern part of the land is divided with the mountain range and our country that acts like a buffer zone," Tony adds in. "They'll have no idea what customs some of the guests have or the laws and rules we live by. It would be a simple matter for one of them to do something that they're not supposed to do, and well, wars have been caused by such misunderstandings before. Then there's the reaction that people will get once they see the side effects that the sealing of the fox demon did to Naruto," Setsuna spoke up. "Who would have thought sending the fox demon back to the demon world would change Naruto into a half-demon," one of the White Delmos said. "Yes, but all of the younger women have been looking at him more ever since he has fox ears now," an older Delmo said as she seen the women around the castle whenever they get the chance to would take a feel of the prince's new ears. She also wonders what other canine-like abilities or body parts he has now. "Actually, he isn't a half-demon," Dr. Mizuno, a White Delmo who is the head of the medical staff. "What do you mean?" Carline asked. Everyone in the room turned to the castle's head doctor. "I have been testing the prince's body since his transformation, and as far as I can tell he doesn't have any demonic BLD in him, and I can't sense any demonic aura around him either," Mizuno explains. "Then what has happened to him?" Carline asked as she trusted the word from Mizuno on detecting no demonic aura around her grandson. Mizuno family was the one who had sealed the ancient demon Heartstone, the mountain-sized demon tortoise who had once roamed the land of metal. The demon Heartstone was also the reason why the fields of metal are full of metal. The raw material that has made metal so powerful, and where the country got its name from. Since the earliest days of their country, the people of metal have always had access to a rich supply of iron ore, and so have been able to produce large amounts of steel, well as other metals such as precise metals. Heartstone was the one who created all of the deep pockets of metal ores. The demon was more of a walking volcano than a tortoise. From the pictures that were drawn at that time, Heartstone resembles a red tortoise. It exhales an always-present cloud of smoke through its nostrils and through holes in its body, and has a dark gray stone shell. The volcano-shaped hump on top of its shell constantly poured out thick smoke wherever it goes. Within Heartstone's body is the violent activity of a volcano, containing molten metal of up to 18,000 degrees Fahrenheit that occasionally erupts from his volcanic mountain-shaped hump on his massive shell. Hardstone created raw forms of metals inside of its body as it eats the forest that once dominated the landscape. The land used to be nothing but thick forest that made the Land of Fire's forest looks like the trees of a small park. Before Hardstone came out of the world of the demons, he would wander around eating up the forest until he had his fill, then would bury himself into the earth to sleep it off for a couple of years, letting the forest to grow back so he can repeat the cycle all over again. Hardstone before he went to sleep would erupt all of the metals in his body out in one burst. This would cause building-size molten raw metal to fall into the countryside, burying themselves deep into the earth. No one knows how long this has been going on, as the first people to settle in metal didn't happen until 900 years ago, give or take. Whenever he woke up every 100 years, he would destroy any village that stood in his way of his food. This went on for years as the people living in metal at the time couldn't do anything to stop the mountain-sized demon until Mizuno's great-grandfather discovered a way to open a gateway to the demon world. He gathered the few Kangakurenin at that time and using their chakra sealed Hardstone into the body of the leader of the Kangakurenin, who was the great-grandmother of Carline, forming the first and only contract with the demon tortoise. Then after the contract was formed, they sent Hardstone back to the demon world where it had came from. From what I can tell, the only thing the sealing did to him is given him the appearance of a half-demon but with none of the powers. He has become stronger, but none has to do with anything demonic in nature, Mizuno explains. He's more of a werfox than demon. A werfox? Carline said to herself. What about children? Will Naruto pass those traits down to his children? It looks very likely, the doctor said. I see no problems then, Carline said. At the party, make sure that everyone is informed about what Naruto has become. I don't want people to go flying off about him becoming the demon fox. Right, Ma, all the women in the room responded. Now to get down to the real reason why I called for this meeting, Queen Carline began to explain to them about what she wants to be done with the guests from the other counties once they start arriving into the city. Elsewhere in the castle. The people of the country of Fras are descendants of people who had refused to make contact with the early inhabitants of Metal when the first people began to setting in the land. Instead, they remained in the northwest of Metal, west from the land of gems, establishing a successful confederation of many tribes. The country of Fras is a giant grass plain, and much of their lifestyle revolves around the vast herds of bisons that migrate from one feeding ground to the next. They are a proud people, with a strong hierarchy and caste system that clearly distinguished between the warriors and the servants and workers who looked after them. They are a warlike people. The strong tribes subjugated the weaker ones, often capturing men and women as slaves as far afield as the counties of Rokanian and Kund. Outwardly, the people of Fras are similar in appearance to us, apart from their sallow skin, but inwardly they are cruel and loyal to their customs. Many merchants who travel near their lands have been raided by them. Metal has been trying to get a treaty with them for years, but they're steadfast in continuing on with their customs. Our northwestern border is right at their southwestern border, which has caused skirmishes with the Fras tribes trying to get a foothold in our fertile fields and the mines located there. They do have ninjas in their ranks, but they are few in number. They rely heavily on their warriors for battles. They are very skilled in warfare that are on the same level as the Blue Delmos, who are the bulk of Metal's army. The tribes of Fras have two principal weapons, the polearm and the scimitar. The polearm, fitted with a serrated blade and tipped with a spike, was made in two sizes. The 9-foot polearm are used to defend against enemy charges, particularly from cavalry, while the shorter, 5-foot one, featuring spikes at both ends, are used in close combat. Each are backed with a curved spike sharpened on the outer edge. On the long polearm, this are used to trip or hamstring enemy houses. On the shorter one, it was for piercing armor and deflecting enemy blades. It is a truly versatile weapon that could be used defensively and offensively, offering the Fras tribes immediate retaliation with a choice of 4 points of attack. The 3-foot-long steel scimitars are a recent addition to their arsenal. The curved blade is used in a downward swing, diagonal slashing attack and for thrusting. They carry a curved rectangular shield, have a concave top and bottom edges, and are held by means of an iron hand grip behind a circular boss that are surrounded by a diamond shape. They wear plate armor which was made to deliberately intend to intimidate their opponents. It would be easy to picture them as a swarm of dragons as they descended on their foe. Their bronze armor consisted of a chest plate made out of thick steel, a collar, pauldrons, vambraces, cuisses and greaves that makes them very well protected at all fronts. Under the armor they wear loose-fitting fabrics dyed red and indigo and black, colors that contrasted with the color of their armor. They wore an undercut helmet was worn over a headscarf and featured cheek and eye guards that hid their face. 3 angular crests on their helmets struck a distinctive and aggressive silhouette that could be recognized from a long way off. In the south of Metal is the Great Kanto Desert that lays between our country and Nanman. While we have a friendly relationship with the kingdom of Nanman, the nomads who make their home in the desert have remains hostile towards any travelers who crosses their desert. The primitive and somewhat savage people of Harad lived in one of the harshest environments that not even the Land of Winds can compare to. In the land south of Metal the sun beats down unrelentingly, cooking much of Kanto's Great Plains into desert. The tribes of Kanto live a nomadic existence, walking from one oasis to another in search of precious water and food, and here they would gather kine and other beasts. They never stay in one spot for long before they pull up their tents and leave for the next watering hole. Any caravans that travel through the desert that doesn't have a large force guarding it have to pay with barrels of water which all of the tribes of Kanto value more than gold, if not they will strp the caravan of everything they have, taking everything, even the wood that makes up the wagons. That's why the merchants that travel through the desert always have plenty of water wagons with them when they cross the desert. Farther south is Nanman dense jungles, in which they would gather up bamboo they use for material that they used for weapons, armor, utensils and construction. The desert lands of Kanto yielded few trees, so bamboo are used in place of wood. Their metalworking technology is almost non-existent due to the lack of natural resources. They rely heavily on organic materials, using tusk, bone and obsidian in place of steel. The weaponry employed by the Harad is dictated by factors such as lack of natural resources, the heat of the daytime and the cold nights of the desert. Ore is so precious that it would not be possible to manufacture swords or other heavy blades. Any steel weapons they had are gotten in trade with the few traders who venture into their lands to trade with them, as with bronze armor found among some of the wealthier tribes. Instead the Harads favors bows and spears, which could be used to hunt with. Although the 60-inch bows are made from precious supplies of wood, reinforced with wicker, the arrow and the spear shafts, even the quiver, are made from bamboo. Tusk, bone and obsidian are used for arrowheads and spear tips, and coarse black feathers gather from crows and vulture for the arrows' flights. These roughly made arrows have only a limited range and accuracy, perhaps being effective only within a distance of 100 yards or so. The Harad also carries a sword, those who are lucky enough to get one, and a cruder version of a spear, which are a pitchfork formed by cutting 2 spikes into a length of bamboo. The intense heat rules out the use of heavy armor. It seems that the level of protection differed among the tribes, with warriors wearing a combination of breastplate, backplate, and collar. These are composite of wicker, bamboo, stone, bone and tusk, all interwoven to form a light yet tough shell. They usually wear long flowing robes, cloths to cover the head from the hellish heat. Naruto listened with interest as his tutor explains the people who lived in the surrounding counties. Using the blackboard in the room to write down the main points she's trying to get across to her future king. He would need to know these things of what kind of people they are and what history they have with metal. He's been studying under the best tutors that his grandparents could get, as many of the teachers of metal wanted to be able to teach the future king of metal. The killer bees were also in the room as they sat in chairs in one of the study rooms of the castle. They have all been trying to get him to open himself up to them, as they said they only want to be his friends, but he already knows the real reason why they're doing it. Everyone wants him for one thing or another without caring about what he wanted out of his life. His current teacher is teaching him is the history teacher of the biggest academy in Ironmount. His teacher Ms. Karen has her long brown hair was put up by hairpins, and her eyeglasses were heavy upon her button nose. Still, the young woman was totally hot, as Naruto have seen how many people would stare at her. Her floral dress matched her wallflower personality, but the body that strained beneath it was a different story. The huge bust that threatened to burst Ms. Karen's conservative BR preceded her by about 8 inches everywhere she went. The melon so sizable that when Ms. Karen's back was towards you, even with her arms hanging at her sides, the outside of her melons could be seen bulging from both sides. The utterly grandma-style dress reached down to Ms. Karen's ankles. The young, strong legs swished the dress side to side, so that it caressed her hard tight peach and belly. The clogs on her feet did provide a couple inches of lift, but her muscled calves and thighs remained hidden from their eyes behind the thin fabric. There are many staff members in the castle that have been hitting on her, and the ones who are married are trying to invite her over for some fun with their husband, which he found out is quite common around here. Naruto is still getting used to the fact that the people of metal are open to their sexuality. Do you understand? Ms. Karen asks as she always stops to see if Naruto understood what she had just spoke about. Yes, both the Frass Confederation and the Harad nomads are dangerous as they only follow their own cultures. They attack merchants whenever they get a chance to and disrupt the trade routes going near their lands. The Frass are more dangerous as they just attack any unguarded caravan that comes their way. While the Harad nomads on the other hand can be brought off with water that they need to survive in their desert home, Naruto answers. Good, I see that you understand my lesson, Ms. Karen said as she turns back to the blackboard. Are there any girls from either of those tribes coming to the engagement? Naruto asks. Only from the Harads are coming, Mars answers him. The two are from the most powerful tribe of the Harad. They are the daughters of the chief who hope to gain from this engagement. Their tribe has become the most powerful and wealthiest of the tribes since they trade heavily with all merchant guilds that travel through their desert. As well being their guide through the desert and keeping the other tribes from attacking the caravan. They have already established a good relationship with metals trade guilds. I see, Naruto said. He waved to Ms. Karen, getting her attention. What about the people of Nanman? What are they like? The Nanmans are a strong, proud people who have lived in the dense jungles of Nanman even before metal became a country. They are a race of fierce warriors. They have been hardened by the jungle that they make their home. Living in the jungle has made all of the people of Nanman quite fit and robust, male and female alike. They the best fighters in heavily wooded areas and all but impossible to beat in their jungle home. The soldiers wear armor made of rattan that can deflect swords and arrows alike. When a band of S-class ninjas from the kingdom of Yonder were sent to kidnap the newborn prince in your grandmother's time, none of them made it to the capital. All of them were cut down before they knew what hit them, and the ninjas of Yonder are one of the strongest ninja clans of the West. All invading armies that have tried to subjugate the people of Nanman have always been destroyed. With their knowledge of their jungle home, they can move through jungle trails that no one outside of Nanman can know. They have tamed many of the wild animals of the jungle, like the tigers, which have become pets and war animals. Their most powerful war beast is the Mumikil, a creature of legend in the eastern half of the continent. They're over 100 feet tall, with 4 huge tusks and 2 smaller ones to each side of its mouth. When charging into battle, they bellowed and screeched at great volume, and the advent of their coming was preceded by a thunderous din that shakes the very earth, Ms. Karen explains. And the Nanmans ride on their backs on great bamboo and canvas war HRNSS, Decapri said, her voice muffled under her mask. She's standing by the window that looks down the main road of the city as the castle is built on a hill. How did you know that? April asked, knowing that Decapri has always been more interested in learning now fighting styles than studying back in school. Because there's a caravan of them outside the city limits, she said, causing everyone to look out the window. In the distance they could make out huge animals walking outside the limits of the city. They must be Mumikil, as those animals look just like what Ms. Karen had described them as. Looks like the Nanman party have arrived, Fevrier said, using her sharp eyes to make out people climbing down rope ladders. Which means the rest of the guests are going to get here soon, Junie said. Just in 2 days the engagement party will begin, Naruto spoke up. The airship carrying the Leaf Ninjas should be landing by dusk, Julie said. Do you want us to make sure that they don't attend? Xiaoyu asked him. Don't bother, Naruto said. Leave them to me. On board the airship carrying the passengers from the eastern land. Tsunade stood on the outside deck of the airship as it slowed down as it hovers over the city of Iron Mount, the capital of metal. From her vantage point she could see everything part of the city and marvel how big it is compared to Konoha and all of the other cities she has been to in her aimless journey in the ninja lands of the East. She has never been to Metal before, she had only met a couple of people from Metal before. And she was surprised when she saw how well built all of them are and that she with her figure wouldn't be uncommon in Metal. This is your first time here? Jiraiya Hinata asked as she appears next to the taller woman, her cape flapping in the wind. Yes it is, Tsunade responded. What do you want? Just been wondering about something, that's all, Jiraiya said. Tell me, did Erasure defeat Princess Kiko when she rips off all of his clothes? Yes, he made quite the impression on all of the women of the village when he flashed everyone who was watching his match against Kiko. After he knocked her out he realized that he was naked and giving everyone an eyeful. I must say that I had no idea how well equipped he was, Tsunade giggles. Good to hear, Jiraiya said. At least she married someone who didn't lack anything downstairs. You knew Kiko? Tsunade asked. No, but Setsuna, my unit's leader, knew her well. She was supposed to be Kiko's body double when she became queen. The two were very close as Setsuna had to know everything about Kiko's down to the very last detail. She has been watching over Naruto since we took him to his mother's homeland, Jiraiya said. Yes, everyone in the village are now tripping over themselves as they learn who Naruto's mother family is, Tsunade said. Too bad that none of you of the Leaf Village lived up to what Naruto's father wished for you guys to treat his son, Jiraiya said. I wanted to take him away from the village, but the third Hokage wouldn't hear anything about it. He wanted Naruto to grow up in the village that his father gave up his life for and that Kiko died to bring their son into the world for, Tsunade said. I see, Jiraiya said. You might be telling the truth, but the hate he has for you and for your people has run too deep. He won't be stratified until he has his revenge on the Leaf. Tsunade held her tongue as she knows if she fights the engagement with Naruto for Hinata and Ayam would be called off. Tell me one thing, that's been bothering me for a while now. Why is it that Naruto's grandparents don't just decal war with the Leaf? With the village weakened state thanks to your 2 raids leaving most of the village ninjas in bad shape, wouldn't it be easy to destroy now? Tsunade has been wondering about that ever since she learned that Kiko was the lost princess of Metal. It's quite simple really, Jiraiya said, smiling that was anything but warm. When the village of the Leaf is burning to the ground, the one that should lead the army that does it should be Prince Naruto. Once he reaches his 18th birthday he will become the first king of Metal since the Delmo bloodline been introduced into the royal family. And on that day you and the rest of the Leaf ninjas as well as the villagers will all die by his hands. Tsunade and her party approached an ornate palace door that was 12 feet tall and plated in gold. And this is the back door, Tsunade mused as instead of going through the front door they were told to go through the back. All of them are dressed in their best clothes for the party. Hinata and Ayam are dressed in the finest kimonos that could be found in the land of fire. The doors opened before them as if by a spell. The Leaf ninjas took a step backwards. Then she saw the servants opening the door from the inside. You're late, the 2 palace servants said as they let them inside. Tsunade nodded as she knows what everyone thinks of people from the Leaf. The interior is lavishly decorated, the parquet floors intricately detailed, the walls covered with tapestries and glided moldings in the shape of crowns. And in front of them is an old man with short gray hair wearing a gray suit. Tsunade, it's been years, the man greeted her. Do I know you? Tsunade asks as she has a feeling she knows him but can't place the name. I guess I have changed a lot since our last meeting. While you look just like you did all those years ago thanks to the transformation technique you have, the man smiles. Do you still having gambling problems, loser? Loser? Tsunade repeated. While many people call her a loser because she rarely wins in games of chances, no one calls her a loser. Not since her eyes widen as she remembers the guy who always calls her a loser whenever they meet. Hunrock, is that you? It's been years, haven't it? Hunrock said to his old patsy. What are you doing here? When I dropped by your old haunting ground in Land of Stone with the inn you always hang out in was destroyed after, from what I heard you had gotten into a fight. No one knew where you ran off to after that, Tsunade asked her old friend. Oh, I went and got tangled up with Princess Carline and her CRT. After getting my butt kicked, went and followed back to Metal after I had grabbed her family crest and knew I had to give it back to her. And somehow I ended up getting engaged to her after I broke into the palace and fought my way through the palace guards. Hunrock smirks. Tsunade eyes widen as she took everything in. You're Naruto's grandfather. Surprise? He asked his old patsy. After all, when you knew me, I was known in getting into all kinds of trouble and playing pranks on people whenever I get the chance to. You're the one Naruto got that from? Sakura asked. Yes, I did, Sakura, Hunrock answers. That's now surprising since she told me about you, Shizen spoke up. How did you know her name? Ino asked, realizing he knew Sakura's name. I'm not the head of the Turks just because I'm married to Carline, you know, he replies. Tsunade can tell you how crafty I am. My king, I have been looking everywhere for you, a woman called out from the other end of the hallway. As she walks down to them, the leaf ninjas could make out her features. She has vivid green eyes with a gentle feeling coming from them, long brown hair which she ties in a braid with pink ribbons, and wearing a pink dress with brown hiking boots. Sorry for the trouble, Aerith, Hunrock said to her. She stops when she sees who he's talking to. In an instant her eyes became hardened. As she stares at the leaf headbands. Yes, they're from the Leaf Village. Can you take the two girls Hinata and Iam to the briefing room? Hunrock asked her. Yes, my king, Aerith said as she waves the two girls over to her. Briefing room? Hinata asked. Yes, all girls from other nations are going to have to be briefed in the customs of Iron Mount and of the other girls before they can attend the party, Hunrock answers. Where do we go? Kiba asked. Just go down the hall and go through the big doors to the right, Aerith spoke up. Care to join me upstairs? Hunrock asked his old friend. Why? Tsunade asked, knowing that he's up to something. You're up to something, Shizen said. I always am, Hunrock said with a smirk. I'll be fine, you guys enjoy yourselves, Tsunade said, waving off Shizen. Okay, if you're sure about this, Shizen said as she and the other leaf ninjas left for the main hall where all of the other party guests are already waiting for the arrival person the party is being thrown for. Hinata and Iam left with Aerith leading them off to one of the palace where all the other foreign girls are being briefed on the basic customs of Metal and other nations that are attending the party. Once they were alone, the two old friends turned to face each other. So what you want to talk about? Tsunade asked the king of Metal. Just follow me, Hunrock said as he opens a side door and walks up a staircase inside the room. In Naruto's room. Naruto, Prince of Metal, stood up as his personal maids help him into his clothes for the party being held for his honor. They have been fussing all over him since this morning as the palace staff have been busy preparing the ballroom for the party guests that are here to see him. Currently he's being helped into a jacket by Neko, Erika is buttoning up his undershirt, Kataji and Gemini are pulling up the custom-made gloves to fit over his now clawed hands. Glycin is reading off the list of things he should remember for the party so he wouldn't make the same mistakes as his grandfather did when he had married his grandmother. Lobelia and Kokliko stood at the side waiting for the others to finish up dressing Naruto. Naruto, remember that the party from the Concute Kingdom always greets others by kissing cheeks, Glycin said as she's been reading off all of those notes on the customs of the party guests that are waiting for him. Have all the guests arrived? Naruto asked as the rest of the maids finished dressing him. Yes, everyone is here, Junie said as she and the other killer bees waited around in the room. The leaf were the last to show up and your grandfather knows the leader of the group, Tsunade, Julie adds. It seems she lost a lot of money whenever she stopped by his old haunting grounds before he met the queen. I always did wondered where I got my crafty mind from, Naruto said as he had gotten to know his grandparents and learn where he had gotten his tricky mind from. What's the plan in dealing with the people from the leaf? Noembalu asked as she sat back in a chair. All you have to do is give us the order, Fevrier said as she pats her crossbow. Just leave everything to me, Naruto said in a flat voice. Lobelia, Glycin, you two will be at my sides, April, Decapri, you two will be my bodyguards for the party. The rest of you enjoy the party and keep an eye out for any trouble. I have to work with her. Lobelia asked as she stares at Glycin, who stares back at her. Yes, I need Glycin, who knows all the customs of the party guest, by my side in case I need a reminder. Lobelia, you have a danger sense since you used to be a thief and can feel if something bad is going to happen. I'll be needing you to keep a lookout, Naruto answers him. Why only two of us to protect you? Santamu asked as she sat on top of a bookcase with her pet monkey sitting on her right shoulder. I don't want any of the party guests to know how many bodyguards I have, and I don't want people to think that I need protecting all the time. It will make me look weak, Naruto said. We'll be off then, Kami said as she waves everyone not escorting the prince left to mingle with the party guest in the ballroom. You're sure you'll be able to handle yourself once you meet them? April asked, not needing to explain who them she's talking about. As I said before, I will handle them myself, Naruto said coldly. In the upper floor overlooking the ballroom. Nice view from up here, Tsunade said as she leans on the railing looking down at the crowd below her. Yes, isn't it? Hunrock said as he steps beside her. Why did you bring me up here for? Tsunade asked him. I want to point out some of the girls that are going to be engaged to my grandson, so you'll have an idea of the playing field that your two girls your village pick is up against, Hunrock explains. Why are you being so helpful? Tsunade asked. I'm just pointing out how far the two girls have to go to heal what the leaf has done to Naruto, that's all. And what other girls he has to pick from, Hunrock said. Like over there, for example. He points out to her. By one of the tables is a young girl of around Naruto's age. She has short auburn hair with long bangs and emerald green eyes. She reaches about 5 feet 1 inch dress in a red dress with white wings, long socks, red shoes, and matching hat. That girl over there is Sakura Romanji, the great-granddaughter of Zenobia Romanji of the Romanji clan, Hunrock said. Zenobia is a holdout from the time that Carline's mother had ruled. And the older girl next to her is her older sister. Well, Runt, I hope you'll be able to handle being engaged to a boy, the older sister said to her younger sister. Sakura pouts as her big sister then sets a cup on her head. Sakura throws a fit with her arms raised and hands and fists rotating rapidly. A vein is seen growing in the back of her head. R. Rankin-Nizan. You're so mean, she shouted. Her meanie of a sister has her long red hair in a ponytail and green eyes, standing at 5 feet 4 inches. She is wearing a light blue sports jacket over a white dress shirt with a black tie along with a white knee-high skirt, medium-length socks and black flats. She does not need makeup, as she is appealing enough without it. Well, I can see they have a standard sister relationship going between them, Tsunade said, smiling at the scene them two are making. Yes, Hunrock said as he points her eyes elsewhere. Looking where he's pointing to, she saw an odd sight as a redhead girl in a purple dress holding a strange-looking staff standing next to a food table. What's strange about her is that she's wearing the skin of a big fish like a cape. The fish's head has its jaws open, acting like a helmet. Her name is Peduru Ikin. She is a slightly dim-witted young girl from the kingdom of Sea Heaven. Her companion Yokichi is a fish she wears as a cloak and uses as a food supply, Hunrock explains. She doesn't look like it, but she's the most powerful fighter of her age group. He then points to a small girl in a blue outfit standing next to another girl dressed in tan robes. Her name is Corcelia, the granddaughter of the Comer Emperor Julius and next in line for the throne after her father, Prince Martin. Her family sees this engagement as a way to make their empire more powerful by combining the two lands together. The girls next to her is a mysterious young girl, named Iresh. She is downright odd, from her method of speaking in third person, down to her dress. Iresh dresses in clothes of the high-ranking clergy from Nagaria, however, only people who are at least double Iresh's young age can have such a position. A tall thin man wearing very decorative, ornate, black and red clothing suddenly steps next to the two girls telling about something. His most identifiable clothing would be his wide-rimmed hat decorated with a large piece of fluff, a long, black cloak, and his cross necklace and sword. Hunrock suddenly spoke up explaining who the man is to Tsunade. That man over there is Dracul, Hawkeye, my hawk hailing from the Great Red Sea. My hawk travels across the great sea in a coffin-shaped raft with 2 green-flamed candles, a single black sail, and a single seat. The fact that he can traverse across the unforgiving oceans, as well as the great Red Sea itself, in such a meager craft is yet another testament to his abilities. My hawk is the strongest swordsman in the world, a monster superior to monsters, as one who has met him calls him. I heard of him, in fact no one in any groups that does what we ninjas do haven't heard of him. It's said that no one has ever challenged him in a sword fight and has lived to tell the tale, only does who watch the fight spread the tale of his sword skills. But I have never seen him in person before, Tsunade said as tales of his skills spread even in the eastern lands. He has never set foot on the eastern lands since he knows that there are none there that can challenge him in battle, Hunrock said. What is he doing here then? She asked him. He's the only bodyguard of Cercilia and Iresh. As there's no need to hire more, as once he takes a job he sees it through to the end, he said as he points over to 3 young girls each dressed in colored outfits of pink, to the girl with her long red hair tied with a red bow into a ponytail with pink eyes, green for the short dark hair girl that's slightly spiked up and is dressed more like a boy than a girl, with green eyes, and blue for the blue-eyed blonde with her hair done in pigtails and curled into ringlets. Over there are 3 of the council members' daughters who are having a go at winning Naruto over. All 3 of them are friends and decided to make a team effort in winning Naruto. I heard that women around here share husbands, Tsunade said as Hunrock nodded in response. Momoko Akatsutsumi, she assumes the leader role of the trio, or to be accurate, she's the self-proclaimed leader. However, she is not the intelligent bossy leader type. She is a bit boy-crazy now and is also an otaku, since she is intimately familiar with the magical heroine genre, along with some typical anime concepts like the leader wearing red and the aura color, as she often remarks, and is regarded as a magical girl maniac in school. Momoko also has a strong penchant for candy and other sweets. Momoko is a supportive friend and is always looking to encourage her friends in various of circumstances they find themselves in. She is skilled in using a yo-yo as a weapon. While it may look like a kid's toy, she can use it in very effective ways in battle. Miyako Gurakuji, like Momoko, uses a child's toy as a weapon, combining it with her bloodline ability. She uses a bubble wand as a weapon, waving it or blowing into the wand to unleash a wave of bubbles. When Miyako initially receives her wand, she misinterprets its purpose, using it as a javelin of sorts. She is admonished by Momoko for doing this. She is the ditziest member of the 3, often appearing a bit clueless, and doesn't seem to understand her powers completely, among a few other things. She is, however, a little more mature than some of the girls in the team and will try to calm any situation, although she too can be angered. She is more concerned with shopping, her appearance and her outfits. She adores her ninja outfit, and perhaps because of this, she seems to be very popular among her male classmates. While she seems oblivious to the many boys that have crushes on her. She is compassion, gentleness and innocence, as well as having a love for animals. The last of the group is Kaoru Matsubara, who uses a Daruma Otoshi hammer, and is the tough girl tomboy of the group. She dresses and acts like a boy, and is also averse to wearing skirts and dresses. Her given name is a unisex name which matches her tomboy character nicely. She seems to have a considerable group of fangirls in school, much to her dismay. She is known in school for being the most athletic girl, as she plays tennis, practices martial arts, and numerous other activities, as well as watching the sports channel on television. She is especially good at soccer due to her strength and determination after receiving new soccer cleats when she was younger. However, she hates girls who she considers very girly. This includes Momoko and Miyako. This plus, the fact that she hates skirts, makes Kaoru the most reluctant of the girls, as she doesn't like to do girl stuff with Momoko and Miyako. She has become quite attached to Momoko and Miyako and cares about them, but she tries to act calm and indifferent. Kaoru is the most easily enraged of the girls, especially when it concerns her taste in clothes. Kaoru can make her hammer extend at will. Her weapon is considered the heaviest of the 3, and she is the only one of the group who can wield it with ease. In fact, even together, both of the other 2 have a hard time lifting it at all. Who's that girl? Tsunade asks as she points to a girl in a purple dress walking over to the three girls holding a white cat. She has purple eyes, brown hair that's done in an afro-style pigtails and is wearing a small tiara. She is Himiko Shirogane of the Shirogane clan, which is the richest family of the Western lands, as they have dealings with every trading routes and companies. She is an incredibly snobby rich young girl who is the sole heir to the Shirogane fortune. Her parents hope that Naruto will pick her, as they see this as a way to ensure that the Shirogane name will continue to live on. Himiko is constantly looking for attention from her classmates, but the current popularity of Momoko and her friends infuriates her as well as anyone who gets more attention than she does. Her well-groomed cat is named Sapphire. Any more I should know? Tsunade asks as she sees Himiko and Momoko's group auguring with each other as she turns her sights onto a group of 5 girls. Well, over there is Will Vandam, the one with the red hair, brown eyes. She is 13 years old. She was from the northern settlements of Metal before she moved here with her mother. Her mother managed to get her in the engagement when she made a deal with Will's friend's parents in a joint engagement as a group. Will has issues with trusting people because she is scared of being let down. She is a bit of a tomboy, but is also sensitive towards other people. Will didn't trust the other girls at first, because her former friends talked about her behind her back, but she soon began to trust them through friendship. Her favorite animal is the frog, and she used to have a dormouse before it died. In school she excels at biology and swimming, and loves caring for animals. Her powers include a high level of using lightning jutsus. Animals are empathetic to her feelings and she can understand them. She also can sense strange phenomena. Irma Lair, the one with the light brown hair and blue eyes, age 13. Funny, unpredictable, and always late, Irma is a bit sassy and has a distinct personality. She is always late for events and can be found using her bloodline powers for personal gain rather than the good. She owns a pet turtle, Leafy, who is the only one in the world to know her deepest secrets as she talks to him at night. She loves shopping, rock music, making up nicknames for her friends, and indulging in long baths and showers. Her powers include intuition and manipulating water to do her bidding. She has also been known to exhibit light mind control. She lives with her father, who is a city guard, and her stepmother, Anna, who she often finds herself at arms with. Anna isn't from Metal but moved here from one of the other countries. She also has a younger half-brother, Chris, who annoys her to no end. Irma is crazy about boys, and her crush is varied every week. Terene cooked the dark-skinned girl wearing glasses. Terene is 13 and her father is from Nanman, if you're wondering about her skin tone. She may be shy and laid back, but Terene can be very determined when she sets her mind to a goal. Out of all her friends, she is usually the one that has to remind everyone about an important task at hand. Her hobbies include basketball, photography, listening to classical music, and even math at school. Her bloodline powers include controlling fire at her will and being able to communicate with people telepathically. She is very close to her family, which consists of her mother, father, and older sister Perrin, who is very nice to her. Though she is shy and somewhat sensitive, Terene gets extremely annoyed when someone hurts her feelings and she becomes dangerous after it happens. Cornelia Hale, 13 years old, the one with long blonde hair and blue eyes. She might seem to be a usual popular girl, however, her character develops much over the years. Cornelia comes off as tough and overconfident, but buried deep within her is a romantic girl begging to be released. She is a competitive ice skater and has won numerous medals for her achievements on the ice. Her best friend is a girl named Elian Brown, and she owns a cat named Napoleon which she received from Will. She can manipulate and speak with the earth, make plants and flowers grow big and tall, can move objects with her mind, and can sometimes get visions from the earth. She understands plants the way Will understands animals. Cornelia can also be extremely cold. She made Will cry a few times, questioned her position as leader of the group, and she often argues with Irma and Will. She has a younger sister, Lillian, who is a big pain in her neck. She was the one who got the idea for all of them to join for a group engagement when they were picked to be engaged to Naruto from their school. All of the schools in the city had a raffle when it came to picking normal city girls from here to be engaged to my grandson, and by luck all of them won it. The last of the girls is Hei Lin. She's 13, like the rest of her friends. Hei Lin is cheerful, creative, and always full of energy. Her family owns a restaurant called the Silver Dragon where she often works to help out. Her favorite thing to do is draw and her favorite subject is art. Hei Lin loves to collect comics and other collectibles. She can always be seen writing on her hand so she won't forget important things like names, dates, and numbers. Her powers include the control over air, the ability to fly and being able to recall the past by the use of sound. She can also touch an object and get a complete history of where it's been and the atmosphere it came from. Her grandmother, Yen Lin, was used to be Carline's personal maid and time to time they get together and talk about the past. This girl Hei Lin can see the past of objects? Tsunade asked. Yes, it's her bloodline ability that pops up time to time in her family at random and the only one in her family that can do it is Yen Lin, Hunrock said. Tsunade noticed a young dark-haired girl dress in Land of Stone style of dress. What strikes her the most was that the girl has eyes that are just like Hinata's and the rest of her family. Who is that girl? Tsunade asked. I wouldn't be surprised that you haven't heard of her. Toph family has always kept her indoor because she's blind. She is a 12-year-old, blind earth jutsu user who always wants to leave her wealthy lifestyle and home. Her parents are incredibly overprotective, leading her to rebel and fight in underground tournaments in the Land of Stone. Her popularity as the blind bandit attracted much attention in the fighting circles. Though blind, Toph possesses a unique ability to sense vibrations in the ground, essentially allowing her to see her surroundings. That's the reason why she was chosen out of the girls in Stone to be engaged, as her parents think this will settle her down a bit and that she's very powerful in earth jutsus. Toph has largely lived alone all her life, which makes her somewhat selfish, sarcastic, and at times, arrogant. She is also a loner who isn't afraid to speak her mind and be bluntly truthful. She does not take pleasure in being mean, but rather, she has been sheltered from the world her entire life, never having a friend. Thus, her social skills are lacking as Naruto's social skills, as he never had friends while growing up. Unable to communicate well with others, she initially appeared mean and selfish to people who meet her for the first time. Toph's attitude towards her blindness shifts between humorous and indirectly bitter. Although she is not angry or sad because of her lack of sight, she is very proud of herself. Many times, she questions the kind actions of others towards her as being due to the perception that it makes her weak, as is the attitude adopted by her family. On the other hand, she frequently jokes about her blindness when someone forgets about it in heated situations. You sure know who's who around here, Tsunade said. I'm the head of the Turks and the fact that one of these girls or more is going to be my daughter-in-laws, he answers her. He spots a group from Nanman as he could easily spot them by the choice of clothes they wear. As their group are the only ones that are wearing animal skins from the jungle animals in the ballroom. He spots Amphra, the second wife of Menghua, and her daughter along with 4 of her bodyguards with her. There's the party from Nanman over at the drinks table. The woman standing next to the young girl with the high ponytail is Amphra, the second queen of Nanman. I see that the rumors I heard about the warriors of Nanman are true then, Tsunade said as she heard lots of stories about them. They do ride upon beasts the size of a building. You saw those Mumikil they used to travel here, Hunrock said. How could I miss them, she asked. That's true, he said. Queen Amphra is entering her daughter Tai Li into the engagement. The girl dressed in the midriff outfit next to the other girl in the red robes. I see she's fast on her feet, Tsunade said as she saw the signs of a ninja from the young girl. She is a cheerful and somewhat ditzy young acrobat fighter who is very much at home in the tree tops of Nanman, who grew up at the royal court and attended the Nanman Academy for Girls with her friend Mai, who is also in the engagement. Tai Li is a formidable hand-to-hand combatant, skilled in Kyusho Jitsu, or the art of attacking pressure points on the human body. In conjunction with this, she has the ability to sense people's chakra or read their auras, and by striking a jutsu user's pressure points she is able to chakra block, and thus temporarily removed their ability to use chakra. The other girl in the robes and her hair done up in a bun is Mai. She is a cold, calm, and reserved young woman, and an old schoolmate and longtime friend of Tai Li. She is an extremely skilled warrior, her primary weapon being small, fletched stilettos that are spring-loaded in holsters on her wrists and ankles. She also employs a variety of other throwing weapons with deadly accuracy and has proven herself quite capable of besting a powerful ninja despite not being a ninja herself. They sound powerful, Tsunade said. Of course they are, Hunrock said. Unlike the ninjas and fighters in the East, there was never an agreement with the countries of the West to let their ninja villages to decide which is the strongest. Tsunade was about to say something when the doors of the ballroom opened and a blonde-haired girl stepped, followed by a large man with the same colored hair, dress and leather, along with a sandy-haired woman in a dress. The man made her stare as she never seen anyone like him before, as her medical mind listed everything that seems out of place on his features. A pronounced supraorbital ridge on his head. Very muscular, very broad-shouldered, short limbs. She had noted earlier that his face was strange. The brow ridge, arching above each eye, was obvious. His hair was parted precisely in the middle, not some affectation. And the nose was huge, but it wasn't the least bit aquiline. In fact, it wasn't quite like any other nose Tsunade had ever seen before, it completely lacked a bridge. And he's quite hairy. This is the first time you've seen a Neanderthal? Hunrock asked. A Neanderthal? She asked as he watches the two make their way to a table. They're a cousin to our branch of the great ape family. They're from way up north where they have adapted to life in the cold environment, Hunrock explains. That man there is a Kodo who had traveled here as a trader but grew to like living here and stayed, even started a family. His daughter Hinako takes after her mother in looks but has all of her father's strengths. What powers does a Kodo have? She asked him. A Neanderthal may look like us, but they're much stronger than any normal person. You have super strength thanks to your training, but any Neanderthal male or female has the strength to kill anyone with their bare hands without using chakra to increase their strength first. A punch to the face will crush a skull. A punch or a kick to the chest will be able to crush someone's chest inwards. It's lucky that they're peaceful and only fight to defend themselves. They are also very smart as they're very advanced in terms of technology. Most of the new inventions that come out from the trade routes coming from the north are from them. As they also have the ability to see through any kind of illusion jutsu, and their sense of smell makes it easy for them to identify anyone they have smelled before. They can also survive cold weather that would kill a person in minutes. Hunrock listed off the details to her. What is his daughter like? Tsunade asks as she looks at the daughter of the Neanderthal. Hinako is a fairly normal girl who preferred to spend her free time practicing sport at school. Among the most popular female sports around here are volleyball, gymnastics, and softball. Hinako, a passionate young woman with lots of incredible dreams, is a different case. Because she has her father's strength that is 10 times that of a normal person, she has decided to practice a traditional sport, only practiced by large, heavy men, sumo. After Hinako first joined a prestigious ladies-only school, the expected pressure for such institutions instantly fell upon her. Not only was she demanded good grades and exceptional behavior, she also had to be the first in her class in any sport. She was offered many different sports, but none of them raised Hinako's attention as she found all of them too easy for her. That is, until she visited a sumo arena which started up around here when a couple of sumos moved here after they married some of the women around here. Once she saw a sumo match, Hinako's world turned around completely. Sumo was an art in itself, much more than any other martial art. She realized that sumo should not only be practiced by enormous men, but also normal women could be able to exceed themselves in the practice of this art. Hinako decided she would restore the grace and beauty that sumo is supposed to represent. Back in her school, Hinako wanted to form a sumo club, but everybody just laughed at her, and deemed her as a crazy brat. Sumo was just out of the question for the refined and delicate ladies of her school. Hinako didn't bother to hear any reasons, as her mind was already decided. Every day she practiced the arts of sumo, and instead of gaining weight and increasing her rather small girth, she decided to train her arms and legs to be able to support the weight of any huge sumo wrestler. After all, it wasn't the size that counted, but the refinement of the technique that mattered. Combined with her natural strength, she has proven herself strong enough to lift an adult sumo over her head. "Sir, he's coming," a female attendant said, appearing next to them. "Good," Hunrock said. "The party can finally begin." "Your grandson is coming?" Tsunade asked. "Yes, and after that the rest of the girls that are engaged to him will be allowed to enter the ballroom," Hunrock said. "They have been kept waiting?" she asked. "Yes, since they are all going to present themselves to him when they enter. To let him get a look over at his potential brides," Hunrock said. "The presentation will take a while to finish as there are hundreds of girls here for the engagement. By my count there are 248 girls that are officially engaged to Naruto. And there should be some add-ons in the following months as he meets new girls." The doors of the ballroom open wide and stepping into the room is Naruto and an SCRT of 4 young girls. Tsunade looked down, getting a good look Naruto, and was shocked as he looks like her long-dead brother. He's dress uniform jacket, a deep red, complete with white cravat and gold braid. His looks have become more defined from the photos that were taken of him before he was taken. But the biggest change of all is that his ears have been replaced by a pair of fox ears on his head, and from the gloves he's wearing he now has claws. She and the other Leaf ninjas had already been informed about the transform Naruto, but she didn't expect this kind of change. 2 of the girls with him are wearing a long-sleeve button shirt. The blonde is colored orange and the one with white hair is purple, along with matching pair of white leather gloves, black pants, black shoes and a black bow tie. The other 2 girls' bodies are covered in a sleek, navy blue bodysuit that left only their backs bare, where it revealed tight, creamy skin underneath. Both of them wore red berets, red ties that nestle between their developing melons, combat boots that are spite-shined, and red gauntlets. Looking around the ballroom she could see that there are other girls that are dressed like the girls walking with Naruto standing in the crowd. The doors close behind them as they walk down the carpet, walking towards the orientated chair that's been placed at the other end of the ballroom that's already been surrounded by red Delmos in full gear, and several white Delmos stood ready nearby. Naruto walked through the crowd of onlookers, only giving slight greetings to people as he walks past them. His grandmother sitting at a table with some of her old friends gave him a smile as he walks past them. He set himself down on the chair and the 4 girls all place themselves on either side of the chair, with the blonde standing the closest to him. Standing near the door, Setsuna gave a nod to a maid standing near a large bell. The maid nodded back and began pulling the cord on the bell, ringing it. That's the key for the presentation to begin. And as for those girls, they are Naruto's personal maids, or the girls in the long-sleeve shirts, and the girls in the bodysuits are his personal bodyguards. There are mine and Carline's gifts to him, Hunrock informs her. You gave him a horde of young girls to serve and protect him? Tsunade asked. Quit, the girls are starting to present themselves to him, Hunrock said as the doors reopen and a line of girls walk down the red carpet to present themselves to the boy they're going to be engaged to. In the line of girls, Hinata gulped as she stood in line waiting for her turn to present herself to the boy she had always grazed upon in the distances, as she was always too scared to walk up to him before. I am stood right behind her, patting her on the back, trying to clam her down. In front of her are 2 sisters who, from what she found out as they argue with each other, that they're half-sisters with the same father but different mothers, as it's quite common here. One of them has long brown hair and the other short purple hair. Are you sure you'll be able to handle yourself, Kasumi? The purple-hair girl asked. Can you, Iane? The brown-hair girl asked. Quite, girls, Jiao Chan said as she walks down the line inspecting all of the girls as they waited for their turn. All of the girls have to be ready to present themselves to the Prince of Metal. They all have been brief in how it would be done. They would say their name and where they're from before the next girl in line would present themselves. Everyone remember what they need to do. We know, a long dark-haired girl from the Sound Village said. We heard it enough already, the blonde girl with a strange hairstyle from the Sand Village. You should be more worried about the girls from the Leaf panicking, one of the girls in line spoke up. Since he has been transformed into a fox, said a girl with long hair that's a rich chestnut color and wearing a simple white gown with a gold band circling her waist. And we all know the history between the leaf and foxes, a strange girl said in a flat voice, whose face is hidden behind a leather-bound book that she's been reading for all of this time. The only part she has seen clearly is her left eye peeking from the top of the book as one of her bangs of long blonde hair covers her right eye all the time. You don't have to worry about us, I.M. said. No matter what he looks like, he's still the kid who has been going to my father's ramen shop since he's been able to walk. Good, Giao-chan said as she walks down the line. Next, one of the women at the front of the line said as all of the girls in the engagement have to wait outside the ballroom before they can enter. You're up, Hinata, I.M. said, patting her on the back trying to stop her trembling. Okay, she said as she walks into the ballroom past the two guards standing on either side of the door. In front of her she could see the girl in front of her finish presenting herself to the boy that she was always too shy to say more than hi to. She always been too shy to say anything to him, and even though she still was the only girl in their class that had ever treated Naruto as a person while he was living in the village. Looking at him now she could see how much he has changed from the boy she knew before. The biggest change to him is that he has long fox ears now on top of his head. She took deep breaths as she trembles as she walks down the carpet towards Naruto. Look at that, Sito said to Carline from their table. She's so shy that she's shaking like a scare rabbit. Judging from her appearance and the information that we got on her, she should prove to be very entertaining to say at the least, Carline said as she watches Hinata present herself to Naruto, blushing very red and a trembling voice. Yes, she will prove to be fun to have around. You mean like what we did to Fran when she was still in her shy stage? Sito asks as she watches the other leaf girl I.M. present herself to Naruto. Yes, but that's a job for the younger generation now, Carline said as she knows this was the beginning of a great many changes to come. In outside of Iron Mount. 5 men all dressed in gray-green suits listen to the TV as the broadcast of the engagement party is being aired. Each of them had already finished putting on lightweight body armor underneath their suits, preparing for the hit they were about to do. They have been trained to fulfill the contract and they're going to do it even if it means their deaths to do it. The engagement party has already started, Agent Alpha said as he and his team sat at the table of their room. We should start moving out then, Daredevil said. But how are we going to get by the guards? Agent Gamma asks. I have an idea, Agent Delta spoke up. What is it? Asked Agent Beta. There's a Nanman camp close to here and those mumikills are large but are scared of fire, Agent Delta said. Set fire to the camp and make sure those beasts head straight for the city walls, Agent Alpha said. In the confusion we'll be able to sneak into the palace and get to the prince. Good, we have a plan now, Daredevil said. Now let's get started then. Party crashers. Prince Naruto sat morosely on his throne in the castle's grand ballroom, resting his chin on his hand as he watched the arrivals walk in. The musicians were playing a lively tune, and many nobles and merchants were dancing with their wives or dates as he listens to the girls introducing themselves to him. Glycin stood near him whispering to him the customs of some of the girls and where they're from. Why so glum, my prince? Lobelia asked cheerfully, her dark eyes following a well-built servant as she carried a tray of refreshments down the hall. The royal ball is starting. This hall is bustling with the most appealing young girls from all over, all lusting for a chance to be your bride. And this should excite me. Why? Naruto asked after the last of the girls to be engaged to him had introduced themselves to him. For most guys, having a horde of willing women after you is a good thing, Lobelia replies. Really now? Glycin said. Do you have to do this? This is a very important party, you know. This party is Naruto's chance to make a good impression on the guest from the other countries. How about the time your grandmother grabbed the wife of that noble from the Frask Confederation and started making out with her in front of her husband? Lobelia smirks. Well, my grandmother may be like that, but I and my mother have raised ourselves above those kinds of antics, Glycin said, trying to outlive her grandmother's wild swings in her younger days. I'm sure I'll find out what you're like sooner or later, Lobelia said with a grin. What's that supposed to mean? Glycin said, glaring at her fellow maid. It is a tradition for Delmos once they reach the age of 18 to go out and find a guy to sleep with. And I'm going to be there to see if you're a screamer or not, she said to the blushing noble girl. You two stop this now, Decapri said, her voice muffled under her gas mask. You don't want to make Naruto look bad, do you? April asked the two younger girls. I don't really mind, Naruto said. But argue with each other later. Alright, we will, the two girls said. Looks like, Enzu's band is going to start up, April said as she spots some young girls around her age setting up on the stage at one corner of the room. I hope they learned some new songs since the last time they played, Lobelia said as she waited for the band to start up. Across the room. I hope everyone likes my song, Enzu thought to herself as she wrapped her fingers against her thigh, mimicking the tempo of the song she planned to sing once her concert began. Around her, the girls of her small band tuned their instruments one final time, making sure that everything was perfect. Down below, a small strange-colored-haired teen smiled and stepped away from the stage as the band got ready to play. He waved up to Enzu while the brown-haired girl moved to the center of the stage with her mic in hand. Break a leg, Enzu, he called up to her. Thanks. Enzu called back before taking a deep breath to calm her nerves. She then turned to her band, okay girls, let's do this nice and neat, I want a good steady rhythm and a pulse-pounding beat. The girls around her all nodded and her drummer, a girl named Ami, began tapping her drumsticks together as the lights spilled down around them. Enzu smiled and looked up as the stage lights shined down on her and her band mates. Alright girls, 1, 2, 3, 4. Her drummer, guitar player, bass, and synthesizer all began at once, releasing a smooth and rhythmic beat that pounded through the ballroom. Enzu lifted the mic to her lips and began to sing, Set Me Free. Gonna be alone, got to be free. Her throat clear, Enzu gave herself to the music and turned her eyes up to the people around her and sang, Tell me, I don't understand anything, but you always say those kinds of words, too. I want to turn into a bird and fly the high skies heading for the distant, faraway hope. When I look down and see my tiny self, I wonder if I'm only living recklessly. If only I can keep looking at the present like this, nothing can harm me and I'll have no fear for tomorrow. I want to ride on the wind and fly to the edges of my dreams. Fastening on my back these wings called courage. I want to turn into a bird and retain my courage to look down. I will not give in to the reality of passing days. Set me free. Gonna find my way, I'm gonna be free. Like a beast that has to choose between steep paths. I won't fall if I can sniff out the right ones. But because we humans are led astray all the time, we don't have the strength from fighting loneliness. I want to ride on the wind and go to the edges of dreams, straining these eyes called courage. With a single fragment melting little by little, we'll start to change so slowly, can't you feel it everywhere? So that even if I chose roads steeper than any beast would, I'd still not lose my will not to give up. The music went into a short musical solo and Enzu moved her body with the pulse-pounding beat, her heart flying inside her melons, letting her feel truly alive as she swept her arms out around her, as though embracing the entire audience. She didn't even feel nerves anymore, only the smiles and cheers of those around her as they listened to her sing and watched her dance. The next verse quickly approached and Enzu lifted the mic to her lips again. If only I can spot my tiny self on the ground, nothing can harm me and I'll have no fear for tomorrow. I want to ride on the wind and fly to the edges of my dreams. Fastening on my back these wings called courage. I want to turn into a bird and retain my courage to look down. I will not give in to the reality of passing days. Enzu took in a deep breath for the second part of the song she and her Yugi had came up with. New days on the morning of the beginning, let's give the earth. Blowing in the wind put just a little bit of hope and love in the pocket. I wish if only I had wings. I would overcome my sadness, my past, and my fears. Yeah. I've got nothing to lose. Fight at the first chance, brand new day. Take my way. On these, the palms of my hands, I want to catch the miracle. I will traverse the never-ending sky and earth and then the future. These newborn wings are, oh. Probably certainly definitely. Someday going to shine. Maybe probably somewhere out there, an answer exists. Going on my way. The one and only truth is in the faraway wind. Sometime when I feel like I'm losing I smile and take a deep breath. I'll discard my weak, crybaby-like self. Yeah. There's nothing I can't do. Screwed up someone's everyday. Save my dream. Even if I'm laughed at I'll ignore it and try. Until that day when I pass up the clouds that go towards the horizon. The wings that support my dreams are, oh. Forever, forever, forever keep on. Going to take flight. New days on the morning of the beginning let's kiss the earth. Blowing in the wind put just a little bit of courage and love in the pocket. I will travel the never-ending sky and earth and then the future. These newborn wings are, oh. Probably certainly definitely someday going to shine. Until that day when I pass up the clouds that go towards the horizon. The wings that support my dreams are, oh. Forever, forever, forever keep on. Going to take flight. At one of the tables. That could have gone better, Ino said as she sits next to Hinata who is doing her best not to make any eye contact with anyone sitting at the table. Hinata you didn't even look at him, Ino said. When Hinata presented herself to Naruto all she could do was mumble her name and look at the ground. Yes but it was kind of cute, Shizen said. Making yourself look so shy might help you. Some guys like the cute shy types. You're making her blush, Kurenai said as Hinata's face is becoming redder than a tomato. Hinata averted her eyes hoping to avoid encouraging them from poking fun at her, but only succeeded in looking even more adorable. I wonder how we're going to win over Naruto when he has all of these girls to pick from, Ayam said as she noticed that a lot of the girls that are in the engagement are pretty. Not to mention the girls with the Delmo bloodline with developing figures and by judging from the older women with the same bloodline, those girls are going to be very busted once they get older. But you are his friend and Hinata has his cuteness, Sakura pointed out. I'm sure that it will count for something, Tenten said. You just have to look on the bright side of things, Ino said as she and the other girls try to uplift their spirits. That doesn't really help with all of these girls, Ayam said again. Besides from what I overheard, once Naruto wears the crown at his 18th birthday, is the day when he will make his war on the leaf. Yeah but either you or Hinata can change that once either of you becomes his wife, Kiba said. I never really care much for the leaf anyways, Ayam replies. What do you mean by that? Shikamaru asks as everyone at the table is looking at her. It shows what kind of village it is when all Naruto's parents wanted was for him to be looked upon as a hero. Instead the adults go around and do the opposite of his wishes. Ever since I started helping my dad with our shop I have seen how everyone in the village treats him and the smiling mask he had to wear for all those years not knowing why everyone hates him. Even if I do marry him I'm not going to try to talk him out of it, Ayam stated to everyone at the table. What about your father? Asuma asked. What would he think about this? I told him that when I found out I was going to be engaged and he said it's up to me alone to decide, Ayam said. Besides the day we left for the airship my dad went close shop and is currently heading here to open a shop around here. He's what? Kiba asked. I figure that the leaf might use dad to get me to talk Naruto out of going to war so I said today it would be a smart thing to get out of the village while he can, she said. You really think they would do that? Hinata asked her. What do you think, she asked. Hinata looked down poking her fingers together. And as I said before, Ayam said before anyone could get a word in. Me and Hinata are the only girls in the village who were nice to him so there's no way you can replace me. With everyone gone silent with her comment, Ayam started looking around the room. A scene caught her attention over to where the people from the sand village Ayam saw something that she couldn't help but stare at. She considered herself a pretty healthy eater and she had always thought that the fat guy Chuji could put it away fairly well, too. But they were nothing but rank amateurs in the face of the eating and drinking exhibition that's taking place at the sand table. Platter after platter of food was brought in from the kitchen only to be quickly dispatched in the blink of an eye. Pitcher after pitcher and bottle after bottle of beverages met the same fate. Seeing something caught Iam's attention, the others at the table turned to see what she's staring at. They could only watch in shock at the primal scene of tearing, ripping and fighting that went on before them. All but two of the others at the sand table that ate in a normal manner, the two sisters on the other hand tore into the plates set before them like ravenous beasts. They grabbed at anything they could reach, fighting, kicking and clawing at one another in order to get what they considered their fair share, namely everything. The only other difference she noticed among them was that the big-chested Naga soon was concentrating on the alcohol, draining any form of liquor she could reach without a break. And I thought that Tsunade could drink, Shizun said as the younger woman at the other table is drinking far more than her mstrs could. At the Sans table. I can't wait to get out of this getup, Temari said as she couldn't wait to get out of the former kimono she was forced to wear for the event. She couldn't move as freely as she could do with her usually outfit. Why? Because you look like a girl? Kankuro asked as this was one of the few times he has seen his sister in a dress. Shut up, Temari said as she takes a bite out of her meal. Have you decided of what your plans are for winning over the prince? Sai, their teacher, asked the two girls at the table. With all the cutbacks in the sand, they were only able to send him and Naga as the rest of the adult ninjas are too busy to make the trip, yet alone being out of action for 6 years. Well, my little sister shouldn't have any trouble fitting in with this crowd, Naga said as she drinks down another cup of wine. With her figure she had easily blended into the crowd of Delmo women with only her outfit making her stick out. I shall bring to this land, justice. This head-turning shout came from the younger sister, Amelia. Assuming a dramatic, if a bit precarious, perch on the tall back of her chair she continued, fired with a burning love of peace and justice we scour the land of evil. Let all who fear the light of the law flee before us like cockroaches, but we will crush them with the iron boot of right despite their flight. Amelia's blue eyes seemed to glow with the fire of her dedication as she spoke, arms and fingers moving and pointing at the correct times for the biggest emotional impact. Yeah. Right. Whatever. Naga spoke through a mouthful of food as she took the opportunity to steal every scrap on Amelia's plate. Big sister. Amelia wailed, jumping back down in her seat in a futile and tardy attempt to protect her meal. How could you? You snooze you lose, Amelia. Naga spoke smugly as she shoveled the stolen food into her mouth. A girl's gotta look out for herself in this world, 'cause no one's gonna do it for you. I saw that, Kankuro. Her fist flashed out faster than light to smash into the puppet user's face as he sneakily reached his hand toward her plate. Humph. Serves him right. She observed self-righteously as the force of her blow snapped Kankuro's head back in a welter of BLD and knocked him and his chair over. Hey! Temari shouted at the Jutsu MSTRS. I wanted to do that. Well, you stop that, Gara said as he sat in his chair picking at his meal as he's been lost in his thoughts. What's the matter? Amelia asked him as he's been sitting like that for a very long time. They managed to seal the nine-tailed fox back into the demon world where it came from. And now it can be summoned back to this world by the prince, he said. You're thinking of having them do the same with you? Sai asked. They were met with only silences. Raising from the darkness of your life you will shine, in the new life you will gain. Amelia said as she has a dreamily look in her eyes. She's your sister, Temari whispers to Naga. Don't remind me, she said. At another table. What do you think of your husband to be? Zaku asked the two sound girls at the table. Those side effects of the ceiling must have been a shocker. Beats the guys that I know, Kin said as she pokes her fork at her plate. What do you mean by that? Dozu asked. That his fox ears does gives him a cute factor, that's something that neither of you two have, Kin smirks at her two teammates. I have to agree with that, Tayuya said as she stuffs her face. By the way, Jirobo spoke up after he took a bite out of the rank of meat on his plate. I've been wondering why we were sent when the invite is only for the two girls to be engaged to the prince. It's quite simple really, Kadamura said. While we're here in the West, we're going to be scouting around and gather information and the local underworld groups around here. While Taiyuya and Kin get to know Prince Natuto, we're going to look for some new BLD. And since most of the people around here are very strong, we're here to give them a good idea of what kind of power the sound has, Sakan explained. But we also have to make sure that we don't make trouble with metal, Kimimaro said. We don't want to become a target like the leaf. Which is why we're not going to follow out that plan the boss was cooking up, Doza said. Why waste energy when someone else is going to do it for you? And he's set on taking his revenge, Taiyuya said. And I'm guessing it would make a bad relationship with metal if we crush the leaf before he can. I guess we can help by making sure that none of the leaf ninjas escape the village, Zaku suggested. Could give us a good relationship with metal, Kadamura adds. The doors of the ballroom open, letting in two very tall figures, followed by a male who was very short by comparison, who stood in the center of the two tall figures. The short male looked very pale, possibly quite pasty indeed. His hair was white, making him look like an elderly short male at first glance. He wore a long blue robe with gold trim, which covered a white shirt under a gold vest. He wore brown pants that stopped at the knee, which was then followed by white knee-high socks that went into brow shoes. The man also wore a blue tricorner hat that gave him a strange air around him. The two people with him are two women, one of them, the younger one, is dressed in a fine gown. The older woman is an appealing middle woman dressed in what looked like a modern charcoal gray business suit, her chestnut hair bound up in a bun and round, wire-framed glasses perched on her nose. The younger woman was shorter than the older woman, but taller than the man. Slender and athletic-looking, she was also dressed extremely differently than her suit-clad companions, skin-tight, dark red leathers, with a sword hanging from her peach. The sour look on her tanned, appealing face was also in opposition to the slightly forced smiles the other two were sporting as they entered the room. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for part 4. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author Mad Hat 886 on fanfiction.net. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.